said I won't be back in a while. Don't wait. Already packed her bags, called the cab, made space. And she said I won't answer if you call me when you're lonely. I guess I let her go. Never mind, it's too late. But I can't believe I let you slip. I think about it 7 days a week, and this just can't be how it's supposed to end.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Hopefully everybody has had a great week. I am Carrie Moody. Tara will be joining us shortly. She had some family matters to wrap up, so she'll be a little bit late. This evening, what I would like to do is introduce a new case, that of Janiyah McMichael's, to all of you. I think it's a very important case that has not gotten the traction that I think it should. And we have a very special guest with us that will be joining, and she is from Missing Lost and Trafficked Facebook. So, and then after that, we also have Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley case. There are 3 new court filings that have come out. One is a little bit shocking, and it is the state's objection, or the state's brief rather, in support of consolidation for the preliminary hearing. And we also have responses now from Tiffany Adams and Cora Twombly on whether or not they'd like for the preliminary hearing to be combined. So that's what we have in store for you. Give me just a moment. I have just a quick presentation just to kind of give you guys a brief overview of Janiyah McMichael, based on what knowledge that I personally have right now. And then Pebbles will join us and she'll be able to give us a lot more information. And thank you for everybody in the chat. I appreciate you being here. Yep, thank you so much for being here and modding for us this evening. Let me present this to you real quick. So there's a little discrepancy, and I think that Pebbles will be able to clear that up. I've heard some different things. So what you're looking at, this is the beautiful Janiyah McMichaels. The silver alert says she's 4'3". I am hearing that she is closer to 5 foot. So we'll get clarification on that. But that's the height her mother had reported her. And she is about 110 pounds. And hi, Eric. Hi, Margaret, Bianca, Carrie, Sonia. Thank you, everybody, for being here. She was reported missing on 8/11/24 as a runaway out of Gary, Indiana. She was reported missing by her mother. Law enforcement is told that she was wearing black pajama pants, a black hooded sweatshirt, black and red shoes. She is only 13 years old. She is also possibly in need of medical attention, and we will explain that a little bit further. Yes, Margaret, she is an absolutely gorgeous young lady. Janiyah was last seen on August 11th, but she could have actually been missing since June 10th. So that is why we want to get this information out as far and wide as we possibly can, because there is a high possibility that she was missing much sooner than she was reported. My understanding is that multiple family members have said they hadn't seen her since the end of the school year last year. Gary, Indiana Police Department did receive a credible tip that Janiyah may have been sighted with a male in Chicago's West Woodland neighborhood. Multiple family members have said she could possibly be 4 to 5 months pregnant. And that's what makes this a very terrifying situation. There is ring footage, but apparently that does not show Janiyah coming or going from the home. Natasha, I might have typed it wrong, but she is 13. So the ring footage does not show her coming or going from the home. And apparently there was a semi truck that was owned by her mother's girlfriend's mother. So mom's girlfriend's mother. And that was allegedly parked in the back of the mom's residence at the time she was reported missing. Hi, Sophie. Mom told ABC7 Chicago News that when she got up early the next morning to get all the kids up for school, she found the front door ajar, the back door unlocked, and Janiyah was gone. A friend of Janiah's has made claims. Now, this is just claims that her mom's girlfriend had been violating her, and there's a lot more trouble in this situation. A cousin of Janiyah's did an interview, and most of the interviews that I was able to watch really were from Missing Lost and Trafficked. So thank you so much for everything that Pebbles has done on this case. She's really done her research. She's investigated. She's spoken with family members, and she knows way more facts than I do. I just want to give you guys a quick overview. And then there's some two brief videos to watch from the news, and then we will bring Pebbles up. So, in a cousin's interview, the mom apparently pointed fingers at the mother's girlfriend's mom. So, mom pointed fingers at her girlfriend's mother. The cousin was told that mom's girlfriend told Janiyah's mom to not go into her bedroom and let her cool down. And then hours later, Janiyah is missing. The mom said she had hired a private investigator, but he was never paid. And then she told him to back off the case. I don't know if he was getting a little too close or if eyes started kind of turning, sideways at mom. But she told him to back off. And then she also called the police on him. These are some photos, and hopefully Pebbles can explain a little bit more. These are photos of the home. Now, my understanding is they might be from about a year ago, but regardless, if this is what the inside of the home looks like, we have a lot of problems, a whole lot of problems. So I will let Pebbles clear that up and get us straight on those pictures, though. And all of these photos and everything are from the Missing, Lost, and Trafficked Facebook page. I have put the link in that chat. And since we have so many in here now, let me put it in there again for you. And if you guys would, please go and like that page. They cover so many cases. I don't know how they're able to keep up with so many of them, but they do, and they do a wonderful job. I've followed them for quite some time. These are some text messages. Again, I think we'll let Pebbles kind of help talk about these. There are, if you'd like to follow the case, we have also created a group specifically for Janiyah. That works well for us with having the YouTube channel to have a group specifically for a case that we plan on truly investing our time and energy in. So you guys can follow both of the Facebook groups, the Missing Lost and Trafficked and the Janiyah McMichael Missing in Indiana. And if you'd like to contact us anonymously for any reason on any case, there is the email and the phone number that you can call. So with that said, let me show these two news. One is her mother is speaking. Give me just a moment.
13-year-old girl who they believe is in serious danger. Janiyah McMichael was last seen on August 11th in Gary, Indiana, wearing a black hoodie, black PJs, and black and red shoes. She's 4'3", 101 pounds. If you see her, please.
You're going to need some audio there, so I want to make sure I have it because I was not hearing audio.
A courtroom in Skokie this afternoon.
Can you guys hear that
of
at all? I have a
1993
feeling
fatal
that you
stabbing.
The
can't.
victim's family was
Let
also
me
in that
know if you
courtroom.
can or
Elizabeth
cannot
Matthews
hear
joins us live
that.
from Skokie with more on the story. Elizabeth?
This has been a very long time coming for this family. The victim only 18 years old back in 1993 when she was fatally stabbed right outside of her Glenview home. Her accused killer, now a convicted serial
You can hear
killer
it?
in
Okay, good.
California, has made his first court appearance here this afternoon in suburban Skokie. 48-year-old Michael Gargiulo appeared in court today wearing sunglasses and walking into the
I can't, so I'm going to have to plug in my headphones.
The Indiana State Police just put out a silver alert for a 13-year-old girl who they believe is in serious danger. Janiyah McMichael was last seen on August 11th in Gary, Indiana, wearing a black hoodie, black PJs, and black and red shoes. She's 4'3", 101 pounds. If you see her, please give Gary Police a call.
And then I have one other one. And this is the one that has an interview with her mother. And then after that, we will bring Pebbles up to help discuss this case, give us a little bit more information than what Tara and I have. And
okay. If somebody does have her, please just let her go.
Dalia Guerrero is racked with worry. Her 13-year-old granddaughter, Janiyah McMichael, has been missing for nearly 2 weeks.
Because the proximity of Gary and Chicago is so close, we don't know if Janiyah is still here in this area or if she has branched out.
Today,
God, I'm asking you, everybody that's here, Lord, keep them safe from hurt, harm, and danger.
Family and friends lead another organized search for the teen with the help of some volunteers.
We want to bring Janiyah home safe, and that's what we want the community to come out and help us bring her home safe.
Dog trainer Lorenzo Longoria and his canine Thor are here too. The 5-year-old Shepherd mix is one of 2 canine search dogs working.
It's a needle in a haystack, especially when there's no cell phone pings, there's no communication through social media.
The family says Janiyah was last seen on the evening of August 11th at the Gary, Indiana home she shares with her mother and siblings. Jasmine McMichael says when she got up early the next morning to get the kids up for school, she found the home's front door ajar, the back door unlocked, and her oldest daughter gone.
Just come home, because I know you're watching this. Somebody is going to show you this. Just come home.
Janiyah's mother says some of the teens' clothes are also missing. Today, 7-member teams are being dispatched to 12 areas in both Gary and Maryville. That's where they will do their searches and also pass out flyers. Janiyah's family says she's never done anything like this before. They're asking anyone with information about her whereabouts to call the number on the flyer or the Gary police. And so this afternoon, as concerns continue to grow, those who know and love the teen promise to never give up hope.
Just Janiyah, come home.
Please.
Come home.
Just
We
come
all
home.
miss you. Come home.
that is a heartbreaking case. Welcome, Tara. Yay, Tara's joined us.
I'm here. She started on time. That's not fair.
I know it doesn't ever happen, but I want to also share real quick these photos of her. So these are photos of Janiyah. She's just a beautiful young girl, absolutely beautiful. And 13 years old is awful scary. And we have Pebbles with us. Thank you so much for coming up. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking your time. I know it's a little bit later where you're at, so I really appreciate you taking your time to come up and talk to the audience about Janiyah and her case, what you've learned, what you can share.
Okay. I want to just
discuss the facts as we've uncovered those facts in Missing Lost and Trafficked investigation into Janiyah McMichael Rogers' disappearance. Because we do know that there's a lot of rumors and a lot of information that has not yet been confirmed. So I don't want to create a lot of confusion, if that makes sense, surrounding her
Absolutely. Yep.
case. So what we've learned is that, firstly, Janiyah McMichael Rogers, and we're saying Rogers because we learned that her biological father, he has spoken out recently, and his last name is Rogers. Um, we learned that Janiyah's mother informed Kevin Collins. He's been very active with assisting family members of Janiyah was searching for her, and this was relayed to me and by other family members of Janiyah that she last saw her daughter, or she was last known to be in the residence, if that makes sense, on August 11th. She noticed she had just left the house on August 11th around 12:45 or 12:47 a.m. So she wakes up sometime after midnight and notices that, and this is what other family members have told Missing Lost and Trafficked as well, that the front door was cracked or open to some degree. However, what we found to be a bit contradicting, if that makes sense, is that Miss McMichael told ABC7 Chicago, and you can Google this and look this information up, that when she got up early the next morning to get the kids up for school, she found the home's front door ajar and the back door unlocked, and her oldest daughter gone, which is Janiyah. Would you like me to continue? I was pausing.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Oh, you're good. Yeah,
we're listening very intently.
Okay. Just in case, I don't want to. There's a lot of information here.
Yes,
so
there is.
That was a bit alarming, being that we learned that there has reportedly been two different stories being told by Janiyah's mother regarding when she noticed her daughter was not inside the residence that they share near 19th and Virginia Street in Gary, Indiana. And so I'm going to just continue on a little bit. In a video that was published. It was published by Team K9 of Northwest Indiana. I'll spell that out so you can find their page. TEAMCAI. CANINE of Northwest Indiana. She spoke out, and when I'm referring to she, I'm referring to Miss McMichael's, Janiyah's mother. She spoke out on August 20th, asking Janiyah to, in summary, to come home, and she said that they would work everything out together. However, she did not have a lot of emotions. So for a mother that has no idea where her 13-year-old child is, it was an eye opener just to see the lack of emotion, no tears. Her arms were behind her back the whole time. She didn't appear to be in a lot of distress, as we've seen in other cases, whereas family members and especially mothers, right, of missing children, they appear to be when they are, just besides themselves, trying to figure out what is going on, where their daughter is. And so I noted that as well. Also, Jania's description in terms of her actual physical appearance, rather, it is different from what I'm told than what was reported to the Gary Police Department. If you go on over to the Gary Police Department Facebook page, you will see that they stated that it was reported that Jania is 4 feet tall, right? However, aunts of Jania and other very close family members, even her grandmother, has stated that she is not 4 feet tall, she's 5 feet tall, and that could cause, some issues with the general public, as a lot of people all over, not just Gary, Indiana, all over Northwest Indiana, they have been really out. Their eyes have been open. Some people have driven countless hours late into the night looking for a 4 feet tall, female, young female, 13-year-old child. And so that is something that I noted, because being that there are flyers stating that Jania is 4 feet, and on those flyers, those flyers have been circulated hundreds of times on Facebook and on other social media platforms. At some point, one would think that mom would be the first one to speak up to say this isn't correct. Okay. In terms of the, what is being, distributed to the public, the general public. And now by local media, there has been, Chicago media news stations, the Fort Wayne news stations, and other news stations across the state reporting that Jania is 4 feet tall, and reporting that she was last seen around 12:45 or 12:47 a.m. Some have different times depending on the article, or it was realized that she went missing around that time. So we found that to be conflicting as well. The most disturbing bit of information, I would say, more so circumstantial evidence that I noted is when I came across a series of text messages. I receive messages all the time, almost 24 hours a day, especially now since Jania's gone missing, saying, hey, look, Jania's mother has a Facebook profile and she is firing off. She is upset. She was defending herself in a very lengthy post. And so I clicked on the link to that Facebook profile, which has been kind of activated, deactivated, activated, deactivated. And there were texts that had been uploaded by a family member that she was arguing with in comments. And those text messages came from a phone number. We did do a background check on Miss McMichael, a phone number registered in Jasmine A. McMichael's name. And in one of the text messages, there was a series of disturbing information. She was saying, multiple times, she said in different ways, she wanted the state, DCFS, to take her kids. She didn't want her mother, she didn't want to turn her kids over to, her mother or relatives. And she said repeatedly in other messages, just in different ways, just summing up what she stated, that she didn't want her girlfriend, for some reason, to know where her children were. And that just sat with me. It sat with me and sat with me, and it's still sitting with me now. And I'm pondering right now, trying to figure out, well, really, what does that mean? Was she trying to protect the children from her girlfriend? Did she feel that her girlfriend would go find the kids? I don't know. It could only speculate and try to get them back. but she kept saying she did not want her girlfriend. We have learned it. The girlfriend's name is Kiera Bates, to take her children. She did not seem to be in a very good headspace. And we do understand that oftentimes mothers raising children, whether they are single mothers, whether they are co-parenting, whatever relationship that they may be in, a marital relationship with another person, helping to raise their children, there will be struggles. So we did take that into consideration. And it can be very stressful raising multiple children. She has more than 3 children, more than 4 or 5, I believe a total of 6, for what has been reported. However, what we later learned cannot be overlooked. We later learned that June 10th, those messages were sent out. There was an exchange going on, someone trying to guide her through this process of her expressing she wanted to give up her children. And that same date is the date that multiple family members have stated, whether it's in comments or directly reaching out to Missing Lost and Trafficked, that was the same date or around that week that they last physically saw Janiyah, anyone outside of Janiah's residence that she shares with her siblings, her mother, Miss McMichael, and the other woman, her mother's girlfriend, and her mother refers to her as Mommy Kiera. And so I want to just pause for a bit because those are some of the most, I would say, interesting bits of information that we've learned into this investigation at this point.
Wow. So have her friends spoken out? When have they last seen her?
A friend did reach out. I wouldn't say a close friend, more like an associate. And that associate reached out to Missing Lost and Trafficked, sent a message through Facebook. And I was really hesitant to just have a back and forth due to this young person stating, I'm underage. I'm still in high school. And so she expressed that Janiyah had expressed that she was having some sort of issues at home. She didn't go into a lot of the details. She just kind of gave more of a speculation that she did not have a good feeling about Janiyah's home life, if that makes sense, or her relationship with her mother. And I saw an interesting comment. It may still be on there. We have posted multiple reels on TikTok. So you'll have to weed through the comments on TikTok discussing Janiyah's disappearance from another young person who stated that they had not seen Janiyah at school since the school year started. So noted that as well.
And now I think I wrote down, because I took notes from all of your interviews you did, and school was supposed to start. So she was reported missing the day before school started. Is that right?
Reportedly the day before school started. There are two different.
She had been seen prior to that for some time, though, right?
She had not been seen by anyone outside of her home since the school year ended in June.
Man.
Grandmother, I've spoken with her grandmother. She has more than one grandmother. Her name is Dahlia. I've spoken with her, and we've had a video chat conversation. We've spoken via Messenger. And so she was stating the last time that she saw her granddaughter was before the school year ended. And she's not the only one who has alleged this. There are other family members who said, well, the last time we saw her face to face was in June. And there are others who saw her in April. April was her 13th birthday. And forgive me for forgetting to note the exact date but I learned that a date in April is the date. It's her birthday month. Basically, a lot of other family members said, "Well, we didn't see her since we hadn't seen her since April."
Wow. Yeah, I have April 28th of 2011 as her date of birth.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I typed 2001. That's an error. It's
Okay.
2011. She's not that old. What
Okay.
can you tell us about the possible sighting? Is that still considered, a good tip, or do you know? The one on
Okay, go ahead.
Chicago's West Woodlawn neighborhood?
I believe personally that that sighting is more credible sighting in terms of a tip sent directly to us, um, over other, bits of information, people saying that they think they saw her here and there. And I'll explain why. A young lady reached out. It started with just posting a post, on our Instagram reel, on an Instagram reel stating, I've seen her, or I think I've seen her to some degree. And then I messaged that person in, their DMs, and we had a conversation, started a chat. And this person stated that she believed she saw a young female matching Jania's description on South St. Lawrence Street, which is in Chicago's West Woodlawn neighborhood. Okay. Now, here's where this gets interesting. This is earlier on, much earlier on. I believe we were possibly going into a week, approaching a week, or possibly going into a second week of her disappearance when this tip was sent out. And so, in, you know, confirming a bit of information, I wanted to confirm, well, what other places have Jania's mother lived? And I found it to be, ironic that her mother previously lived on South St. Lawrence Street, just a block away. She gave us a block, not an exact address, but she gave us a block and a street, just a block away, or block up rather, on that same street. Does that make sense?
Yes, I found that
Yes.
quite interesting too when I saw.
Yes,
Why did I move myself
absolutely.
up here? And then also, so the
You're good, keep
father's
going.
interview, you did an interview with Jania's father, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
In that, he says that the mother told him that that Janiah is possibly pregnant. Is that right? That the mom told him that?
And I want to quote him correctly.
Yeah.
I can say, because I don't want to misquote him on this. I can say that he did say that he was told by family members of Janiah that she was possibly 4, we don't know the exact month, to 5 months pregnant. He also stated he was contacted by DCFS, and he learned that, and you listened to some of this as well, correct?
Yes.
And he learned that she had been, and I just want to just say, for YouTube guideline purposes, assaulted in an inappropriate manner. Okay. And I found that to be a bit disturbing. He alluded to, or rather inferred, that there may have been some type of cover up, someone who, and I have not been able to confirm this, so that's why I'm reluctant to go too far
Right.
into this. Someone who is in a close relationship with a family member of Janiah, allegedly, took advantage of her. Okay, so that was also expressed, and so that's as much as I could really in terms of discuss what the allegations that he did make during that live stream. Also, it's important to note that he said that he has experienced parental alienation. So, although he has reportedly been paying child support for 13 years, Jania's mother had prohibited him and set up a lot of barriers and roadblocks from him to actually have quality time and father his own child. And so, yes, that was alleged
Yeah,
as
so
well.
he's been paying child support all these years, that he has not really been able to have any contact with her, and that he had actually gone to McDonald's one day and shown up at her school. He figured out what school she was going to, and her dad showed up there, and he's, introduced himself as her father. But then my understanding is, as soon as mom found out about that, she made sure that that wasn't going to happen anymore. And so, yeah, the dads, it does seem like there's a parental alienation going on for sure. What can you tell us about searches or the police department or press conferences or anything like that?
The Gary Police Department took some time around, we were going into, I'm just giving a rough estimate, the third week or so, second to third week of Jania's disappearance, when they finally posted on their Facebook page that she had been reported missing. They posted that she was missing, and her status was just a runaway missing person case, not an endangered missing child or missing person case at the time. They have declined to host any press conferences discussing Jania's disappearance, even though, if you go on Facebook, you'll see tag after tag after tag after
Yes.
tag of people just tagging them. They're getting exhausted with tagging the Gary Police Department, pleading with the Gary Police Department to be transparent, to inform the public what they are doing to investigate or at least try to find out where Jania has gone. Okay. So very little effort, a minimum effort has been made by the Gary Police Department, unfortunately, to discuss Jania's disappearance publicly. They did want to make it abundantly clear in a separate Facebook post that they were dispelling. We always have these serial killer rumors. I'm from Gary, Indiana. I was born in Gary, Indiana. So I've lived there a number of years. Not right now, currently don't, but that has just been a thing for a long time, that, whenever someone goes missing, there's serial killer rumors due to all the abandoned houses. And so they wanted to, dispel that and say, hey, we have not had a number of cases that would, fit the criteria of there being some, unaliver, if that makes sense, out there. Also, they have not been cited out looking for Jania, using their resources. And they do have other resources. You have the Indiana State Police, who frequently have, offered their resources that they have to assist the GPD with other cases. And so it's disheartening that, I know that excuse is always made that the Gary Police Department has very little resources, right? But those excuses aren't made when they're trying to take down drug dealers. They will collaborate with other police departments, the FBI if need be, to take down drug dealers, okay? And investigate other cases. And so they have not named any persons of interest that has been named publicly. I'm not saying that there aren't any persons of interest, because you never know what the police are doing behind the scenes. Just stating that, publicly, no persons of interest have been named. No suspects have been named, and despite overwhelming circumstantial evidence having been uncovered by Missing Lost and Trafficked, by Kevin Collins of Casey Bodyguard Services, and he is the gentleman who has an organization whereas he goes out looking for missing people for free. He's discussed a lot of contradicting and suspicious, information that he's learned as well. It just does not seem that the Gary Police Department is in the least bit interested in investigating and following up on any of these leads that are now being made public. And then I want to answer the other part of your question. You had another part to this. I explained what GPD is doing or not doing.
Yeah, so search efforts. Have the
Mhm.
community come together? They mostly community is doing searches for her.
Yes, the community has come together on more than one occasion. So there were 2 searches, possibly 3. I know Team K9 of Northwest Indiana, they have hosted search parties looking for Janiyah. I know that. And I also know that Kevin Collins, Mr. Collins of KC Bodyguard Services, he has searched and searched and searched with his team, and he has been out as well looking for Janiyah. So we have maybe around 2 to 3 public searches, if that makes sense, where groups of people came together. 2 for the record, just that I know of that were like public, and they, shared flyers about discussing. For the most part, a lot of the searches that Team K9 has led, and the other searches that KC Bodyguard has led, they have led them for the most part very separately. Those searches have been private due to there at the last public search, there was a huge brawl or fight that broke out. People went
I
to
heard
jail,
about that.
including Janiyah's mother. And so that discouraged, search party leaders from saying, hey, we're going to have this big event and we're going to announce it. And we want everyone to show up at this time. And so now it's kind of broken up into different factions of people looking, individuals who are, reaching out to Missing Lost and Trafficked and saying, look, I've been in my car, I've driven here, I've driven there, just going out on the whim, doing what they can in their free time to look for her.
I think it makes me uncomfortable, and I do have a lot of faith in our law enforcement, but this makes me extra uncomfortable because the silver alert still says 4'3". So to me, as just a general person out here, it seems that law enforcement hasn't even investigated enough to get her height correct. When I first saw 4'3", I thought, man, I'm short, but that's extra short. So if she's closer to 5 foot, that's a big problem.
I'm told closer to either between, just for accuracy purposes. I know family members may be tuning in, somewhere between 5'1" and 5'3". I've seen different, and just looking at her, I can just do an estimate that she's at least 5 feet, just looking at her in photos that I've seen, if that makes sense.
That's kind of what I felt too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is it about the ring footage? Something about there was some ring footage. Was that a neighbor's ring footage or Janiyah's mom's? I just know that it said that there was nothing that saw her coming or going from that home.
I can say I'm still looking into that. I can say that no ring footage has been released to the public. Neither has there been ring footage that family members, just that, she has aunts, they've gone door to door, talking to neighbors, have seen showing Janiyah leaving or coming from her mother's residence. Yes. and that was in the night in question. And they have asked other individuals with Ring cameras. A lot of Gary residents have Ring cameras to just go a bit further back before August 11th, and they've not received, as far as we've been informed, any footage showing that, Janiyah was in front of that residence at some point, walking in, walking out, walking through the neighborhood. And they've also stated that, neighbors have stated that, they just couldn't recall seeing Janiyah outside generally in the months, I would say, leading up to her
And
disappearance.
those neighbors would say that was unusual behavior for Janiyah, to not see her. That was unusual. So there was cause for concern when she just kind of stopped showing up.
I would definitely, agree with that. That did cause some concern. I was told that she is, very outgoing, had friends at school. Some of her teachers just kind of glossed on, across readings comments, stating she was, just a very social child.
There's a question. Do you know if the mom and the mom's girlfriend have been questioned?
At this time, I do not know for certainty. I did take screenshots. And so when I was alerted that, Janiyah's mother was on her Facebook page and was, saying her piece, she was, being defensive about a lot of the allegations being made about her. She did say, and I'll try to find it in my archive and send it to you. She did say that she had been questioned. She did say she had been questioned by the Gary Police Department. So I just don't know how true that is, since they're not being transparent with us.
Right.
Yes.
And so, and a lot of times I understand why they're not transparent, but in a situation like this, they need to talk. They need, the police department, they need to do a press conference. They need to do something to get her picture and her information out there. And it always upsets me when that doesn't happen. And my understanding is the silver alert didn't happen until just recently.
The silver alert happened the day I decided to go from playing my journalism role to becoming a community activist, if that makes sense. And when I say that, I decided, you know what, we gotta get a petition going. This is beyond ridiculous. This is beyond negligence, what we were watching unfolding before our very eyes. And so Missing Lost and Trafficked drafted up a petition, initially petitioning the Indiana State Police and the Gary Police Department to issue an Amber Alert for Janiyah. The same day that petition was published and posted, about an hour, maybe an hour, 30 minutes after that, then there's a silver alert that's, activated, and, Northwest Indiana residents and residents across the state, whether were hearing on their scanners that a silver alert had been activated the same day.
Wow. The photos, I don't know if you were listening quite yet. I did pull up the photos that you have posted on your Facebook page of the home. In reading the comments on those, are those old photos of the home?
I don't want to speak too much into that because I'm getting information. Some people are saying those are old, others saying that home is her current home. I remember seeing a statement from Jasmine McMichael stating that that's not the home she currently lives in, but she did, confirm, or rather state that that was a home and those were conditions that children had lived in, and she was, to sum this all up, going through something at the time.
That's rough. Do you mind if I read these, the text that you have posted?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me read these real quick. This is Jania's mother speaking to, is it a friend, a girlfriend?
I'm not sure
We don't really know who
exactly.
she.
In fact, I'm not going to say that. I want to be accurate. I do know who this person is. I just don't want to give up their
That's fine.
identity.
That's
Okay,
fine.
I'll say that.
Makes
I'll
sense.
say that.
Completely understand that.
Okay.
Good call.
So these texts, it starts off with Jasmine, the mother, saying, I'm going to call you and I'm going to act as if I'm talking to CPS. Is Virginia around? Now, who's Virginia? Do you know?
Virginia is, from what I learned, a family member. I'm not sure what her exact role is in the family.
Okay.
Mhm.
And the person that she's texting responds, okay, and no, not till 4:30. Jasmine says, okay, don't come yet. I'm about to call you. And this person says, okay. Jasmine says, do you have someone other than you who can pick them up? I don't want her knowing where they're going. I'm signing them over to my mom. Now she's speaking of her children.
Mhm.
The person she's texting says, no, I don't. What's going on? I'm 10 minutes away. What do you want me to do? And Jasmine says, I'm signing them over to my mom, but I don't want this girl to know where I'm sending them. And that is what we believe that she is speaking about. She doesn't want her girlfriend knowing where she's sending them.
Yes, yes.
All right.
That's how I understood it.
And then I can get it to where I don't have to do each one of these. Let's see.
The joys of technology.
Yes. Okay, so then and I think somebody in here said who it is, but the person that the mother's texting says, then tell them that. The mom says it's no secret. I don't want her knowing where they are. I did. I called down there. I called the courthouse in Crown Point and Gary. The other person says, if you want to sign them over, you have to go in person to a notary because it can't be a family friend. So you have to be willing to go meet with your mom and a notary. Jasmine says, I'll meet with her sometime during the week. The other person says, what is your plan now that you have to wait to do the notary? Jasmine says, she got my phone. The person she's speaking with says, Jazz, if you're making plans to off yourself, that's clearly not the answer. Jasmine says, I can't do it anymore. And yes, it will fix all the pain I feel. The other person says, if you want help, we are all willing to help, but you have to be ready for change. Jasmine says, I've changed and these kids haven't. I'm not asking for help. I'm asking for someone to take them. I'm going to do what's best for me. I really don't want to give them to my mom, but the state will not take them. The other person says the state will take them. Drop them off at DCS. They will definitely take them. Jasmine said, if you can have Virginia come get them, I'll send them their birth certificates and social security cards and a letter from my mom. Then she says, I called DCS. They said I don't have an open case, so I would have to go to the court to file to sign my rights over. Then they will give me a court date. She goes on to say, I called DCS. Oh, they already put that one. So they will give me a court date. The other person says, that's if you're trying to give them to a specific person. If you just don't want them, they will take them. If you go drop them off, they will definitely take them. I know someone is there right now. Go drop them off before something happens to them. Whoever she's talking to really did a great job in the responses. I don't know if it's a female or male, but Jasmine said, nothing is going to happen to them. I'm not effed up to where I will hurt them. I want better for them. The other person said, then why does it have to be a secret? And Jasmine said, I just can't take care of them. The other person says, then tell them that. Jasmine says, it's no secret. I don't want her knowing where they are. I did call down there. I called the courthouse in Crown Point. I might have had those out of order. She has nothing to do with it. The kids won't stop being nasty and something up everything. The other person said, so who don't you want to know where the kids are going? Jasmine says, DJ and Malachi are pissing and shitting in their room. I broke up with her because I'm tired of arguing behind what the kids are doing. I don't want her to know where my kids are because it's not her business. The other person says, I get it, I do, but what really is your plan? Why can't you just leave with the kids? Jasmine says to give them up so they can have a better life. I want to be with my dad. I don't want to. I'm tired and I've had enough. The other person says, I know you're tired, but they need you to transition and you think dying is going to fix it. If you're making plans to off yourself, that's clearly not the answer. Those are rough. Those are very rough. So mom is definitely going through something, no matter how you look at it. She's going through something. But those are scary because we cover these cases all the time, just like you do. And that's scary to read what mom was saying. Did the chat have any questions while we do have Pebbles up here? Tara, did you have any questions?
No, it's very disheartening to hear the story. My mind goes in a direction. I don't want to speculate on this one just because there is a lot going on. I feel for the mom if she felt like ending her time with us was the answer. She has been through a lot. That's not okay for somebody to think. That's a cry for help. But she had the wherewithal to believe that her children deserve better. So she loved them enough to try and put them in a different position. So it's I'm actually surprised it's Janiyah that's missing versus Jasmine.
I am too. That was kind of what I was thinking as well.
It's I'm kind of wondering if Janiyah didn't take it upon herself to it's one of those things where she thinks she's making the right decision, but she actually made a really faulty one and got herself wrapped up into something that she can't get out of. I don't get the impression that mom hurt her, because if she's going to hurt one child, she's going to take them all out in her particular mental state. Excuse me. So it's a very interesting case. She's 13 and she is expecting child. Did I heard that correctly, right?
Allegedly, yes. Allegedly, yes.
That's scary. There's that adds such an angle to everything, unfortunately.
Have you been able to talk to mom's girlfriend, Pebbles?
No, I have not.
Okay. Have you talked to mom?
I did speak to Janiyah's mother just kind of briefly. She called, this was earlier on, and she just wanted to get some clarification on something. She said that she thought that I said that a search party would take place on a certain day, and she wanted me to know that it was not. And I said to her, oh, nope, I didn't mention that a search party, because it had not been yet announced that a search party was going to take place on a certain date. So there was no reason for me to discuss a search party during that specific live stream. And so I told her, nope, I didn't mention any details. However, if there is a search party being carried out, please let me know and I will, let the public know. And it was a really quick call. At that time, it wasn't the best, just based upon her tone, and the best time to say, would you like to speak to Missing Lost and Trafficked? It was offered through another party, whereas I spoke with someone else who knows her and stated that, if she wanted to speak out, discuss her daughter's disappearance, we were here. And so I was told that she didn't want very much. Family members informed me that she did not want a lot of media attention, very little media attention, didn't want a big deal made of it. They really clearly expressed that to me. And she did not want the news covering. They were the ones calling news stations, and they were being kind of, I would say, blown off to a certain extent, because the news anchors and these news editors, they want to know why mom isn't calling them.
Yes,
So this would have gotten
absolutely.
out. Her disappearance, Jania's disappearance, would have gotten to the media and possibly made national news if earlier on Jania's mother was the one making the calls and making pleas and asking for media attention. But that's just not what was happening.
Right. And it's hard when, oh, go ahead, Tara. Sorry.
When you've got somebody that's in the mental state that Jasmine is, I'm not surprised that she's not asking for help. If she's in a state where her life is better gone, she could very well be in the state where, oh, my daughter's gone. It's probably best for her. Now I just have 2 more I have to get rid of.
Okay.
I mean, we could
Well,
be,
that's
she could be in that.
terrifying.
It is, but if she was trying to hand her children over and one disappears, that's 1/3 of what she believes are her problems. Now she just has 2 more. So I can understand why she's not going to the public for help, why she's not trying to do everything she can. She was trying to let them go anyway.
She actually has about 5 more from adding.
She's got 5. So she's got 6 total?
Total, from what I was told.
Does she have
And
custody of them?
Jania's the oldest one.
Janiyah is the oldest.
And so she's
and if there are family members in the chat, because I do not like to give out false information. From my understanding, she has a total of 6 children. If it's a total of 7, and there's an aunt or a cousin watching in this chat, and Janiyah she is reportedly the oldest child amongst all of her children, you can correct us live and then forgive me in advance. But that's my understanding of it. Yes.
Well, and I will put a burner number in the chat.
Yes.
So if somebody doesn't want to come out with it,
yes,
you can just, this will send a direct message, and you can remain anonymous. So you don't have to be asked how we know. There's 7 left. What does that mean? 7 left. Is that she has 7 others outside of Janiyah that are accounted for? Is that what that means? I want to be sure.
8 kids. Oh, wow.
Okay.
So
it's
it's
7 all together, and she's the only one with a different dad. It's 8 altogether.
Okay.
Yes, so we're getting some conflicting
Okay,
stories.
so
there,
7,
guys.
8. But that's a lot of kids, though. That's a lot to handle.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
I'm not sure the exact number. I know there's 6 or more. I will say that from what I've learned, just with me counting how many children were in photos that they've taken together as a family.
Okay, makes sense.
So when the mom went to that search, was she trying to keep people from searching? There was a question in the chat. Or was it just an issue with her and another person?
It seemed to be, from what I was told, the way I understood it, is that there was an issue between the last public search that was held between Janiyah's mother and one of the fathers, or the gentleman who has fathered her other children. So her other children, besides Janiyah, were fathered by one man. And then Mr. Rogers is the father of Antonio Rogers, is the father of Janiyah. So that conflict took place between, I don't have his correct name, only have his Facebook name, that gentleman of the other kids, right? And he was attempting, from what I was told, to just kind of spend time with his children and, and comfort them during this time. And I was told that her girlfriend, allegedly Janiyah's mother's girlfriend, did not like that. I don't want to go too far into it, right, because I'm just going on what was told to me. And it started a big ruckus, so to speak. And there were fights that broke out. Yes.
Right. And so do we know that the other children is mom still living in the same home that she was when Janiyah allegedly went missing? Is she still in that same home?
Yes, she is still. We were able to confirm that she is still in that same home. A lot of people who have been out searching and driving down the street past her home, they've seen her out, her and her girlfriend out in front of the home, and so yes.
All right.
Okay.
And the other children, do family know? Does Jasmine keep in touch with her family members? Do family know, are these other children safe, or
There
that's
are
worrisome?
very, very close family members of Jasmine McMichael who informed Missing Lost and Trafficked that they've been pretty much forbidden to speak to any of those children. She won't let anyone speak to not even grandma. She won't let anyone reportedly speak to those children and have one-on-ones with them, so to speak. Yeah.
This is terrifying. What's the
Mhm.
next steps? What are what are your plans, your next steps? How can we help? How can the audience and those that watch this on replay, how can they help to, get any information that might lead to where Janiyah is, or any information on her disappearance, search efforts, anything like that? What are those next steps?
Currently, there is a change.org petition. That petition was edited or modified. And instead of, we initially asked or requested an Amber Alert be issued for Janiyah. Since learning that the Gary Police Department has pretty much taken a back seat to the investigation of this child, we are urging the Indiana, and that would be in Indianapolis, from what I've learned, the Indiana FBI to join that investigation. And we have also urged the Gary Police Department to go ahead and secure any search warrants for persons of interest connected to Janiyah's disappearance. So signing that change.org petition would help greatly. We have over 1,300 signatures, but it's not nearly enough. We need 1 million, 2 million, or maybe more signatures. Nearly enough to get the petition, get the attention rather, of the Indiana FBI, the Indiana State Police. We're urging everyone contact. It's very difficult to contact the Gary Police Department. You can try. Yeah, good luck with that. And so we know that they work closely with the Indiana State Police as well. Calling the Indiana State Police directly and asking them to investigate, asking them to give an update would help as well. Writing letters to the Indiana State Police or the Gary Police Department, although we prefer it be the Indiana State Police. Writing letters to the Indiana FBI in Indianapolis for those who have more time on their hands, that will help. That petition is really going to be key. If we can garner enough attention, anyone that wants to chip in, you can chip in. You can chip in $2 or $3, and that's what folks have been doing. We, had a total of close to $300 where different people just chipped in to boost the petition. That helps as well. And so in terms of that, there's ways that you could assist Missing Lost and Trafficked, being that I've spoken with a private investigator, a licensed private investigator who has the resources to get some footage. I don't want to go too far into details.
Right.
Get some footage that would really possibly help to crack this case wide open. However, this service it's not a free service. In Missing Lost and Trafficked has to pay private investigators out of pocket to get, certain resources, if that makes sense, to dig
Absolutely.
a little deeper than, there's a line as far as a journalist in terms of the access that Missing Lost and Trafficked has to certain documents, to certain cameras, different cameras, but this private investigator is very good and
Good.
can get footage to know like where Jasmine or her girlfriend has actually traveled over the last couple of months, and
That was the
has
other
done
thing.
so for us in the past on previous cases. Yes.
That was the other thing I was going to mention. I don't know if it was in a video or a comment or a post you may have made, but it seems that Jasmine's been kind of traveling to different places.
Yes, I traveled to Gary, Indiana. I traveled to Gary, Indiana myself just a few days ago. I didn't make a announcement about it. No one knew I was there. Not Jania's family members, the family members who have been talking to me quite frequently, and for good reason. I didn't want anyone to know I was there. I did speak with individuals and found out a lot of interesting information from, I would refer to them as eyewitnesses who have actually been on Miss McMichael Street, rode past her house, rode on the side of it, been out there on the ground looking. And I learned that, reportedly Miss McMichael has shown up in different places where she would see people out just kind of searching, and it's more not that she's showing up to search. It's not what's being reported or join or help. It's been more so kind of just to see where
What's
these
going
people
on.
are, where they're going. Pictures are being taken, reportedly. I'll say reportedly or allegedly. If you're driving past her house, they are out. When I say they, reportedly her and her girlfriend are outside just watching anybody, because this has gotten really big. People are getting really, really curious now, and reportedly taking pictures of people as they go down the street, taking pictures of their cars, license plate, whatever. Some people have even been followed by other people to discourage them from searching, who are, connected to Miss McMichael. It's gotten really, really scary. I can
That's not a
say
good
that.
sign. Somebody in the chat would like to know, how do they donate for the private investigator? I've been dropping the link to your Facebook page. I
Okay.
also dropped the link for the petition. But how can they donate to the private investigator?
Okay, so those donations can be sent to Missing Lost and Trafficked on Venmo, or $find the missing. I don't know if there's a way you can put that up in your chat. It would be on CashApp, $find the missing. So it's $, and it's literally find the missing, or on Chime, and that's a $, and that is Missing Lost and Trafficked, and then there's 24 at the end, because I have to actually pay this person for these specialized services.
All
That
right.
makes
I
sense.
did put the
Yes.
Cash App in there.
Yes.
So thank you very much for that.
Yes.
Well, I certainly hope, that anything that we can do, we will do on our end. We'll keep sharing, the case. If there's family that would like to come on and talk, we're more than happy to talk with them too. The more people that see it, the better. Keep in mind, everybody, that she was reported as being 4'3", but it's believed that she is closer to 5 foot. So you're not really probably looking for a 4'3", 13-year-old girl. One other thing I think I read as well, and maybe it was at that tip. It might have been that tip that they thought that her braids had been cut off.
Yes, in the tip that was sent over to Missing Lost and Trafficked, this person stated that the young lady she saw, the braids have been cut. And when the way she described it, because I've worn braids before, right before you're going to take those extensions out to make it easier to take it out faster, you want to cut them down. And so that's the way it was described, that those that maybe they were longer and had just been cut shorter, and that this young female was dirty or appeared to be dirty at the time, not very well taken care of. And so that stood out as well.
All right. Well, let us know if there's anything we can do. Definitely, those in the chat, if you will, please go to Facebook and follow Missing Lost and Trafficked. They do wonderful work. Like I said, I followed them for a long time. So please follow that page. We also have a group set up for Janiyah, and I'll share that link shortly. And then we will continue, kind of digging a little bit on our own. Tara and I will. And we'll continue just pushing this. We've had some luck with reaching out to media and other cases. So we will also make an attempt at that as well, because she has to get more media attention. She has to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with your permission, if I could, I'll post the information how everyone can support Missing Lost and Trafficked and our initiatives. Yes, after we disconnect.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Please do. We appreciate everything that you do. And like I said, reach out to Tara or myself. If you stumble across something, you need help getting a message out more, whatever we can do to help, that's what we're here for. And we're more than happy to do whatever we can to bring this beautiful young girl home.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank
Pebbles.
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you.
Very much
Okay.
so.
Thank you. Likewise, you all have a lovely evening. Thank you.
You as well.
All right,
bye-bye. All right. Yeah. So that's a rough case. To me, it's scary. And I just hope that, I hope she can be found soon.
I hope so. And for those of you that are listening now or later, if you have information and you don't feel comfortable contacting law enforcement for whatever reason, it's not the first time that Carrie and I would have taken tips on somebody else's anonymous behalf. I just put the burner number in the chat. It's 316-285-9595. And you can always contact myself or Carrie or even Missing Lost and Trafficked if you do not want to extend your identity, but you want to extend the information. That can always be very difficult, but it's important that you share the information as often as you can. We had a case where sharing information was what helped us find our missing girl from another state. And so it's super important that you take those few seconds to share.
Absolutely. So we will stay on that for sure. I do have a little bit more, that I can share the next time. It might be a little sooner than next week because her case is one that the information needs to get out there quickly. So
correct.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for the new memberships. I really appreciate
Oh my
you
gosh,
guys.
Carrie, you're super popular. You're my hero on YouTube. I'm going to strive for what you're getting tonight.
Stop it. Stop. Tara's about to get kicked.
She's too far away. She can't reach me. Even if she was in front of me, she couldn't reach me. She's too short. But if I know where we're going, because we talked about our little agenda tonight, the first thing I want to do is we have a huge amount of individuals who have been following this case from day one, no matter how they started following it. They've been about it since day one for the right reasons. And so for those of you that are joining us tonight that we lost contact with for a little bit, thank you for being here tonight. I saw some names tonight, Carrie. I don't know if you saw, there's a couple in there that are really exciting to see. We had some excitement last week and there's just more this week. So I'm glad everybody, the gang is back together. We got the band back together. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yes, I am too. And truly, thank you all for being here. Thank you for giving Tara and I your support. We can promise you that we will do everything to not let you down. But we really appreciate all of you guys being here. If you haven't yet, please just take one moment and click the like button. And then we're going to move on to Veronica and Jillian's case.
Boy, are we ever.
And yes, happy faces, praying for the safety of Janiyah and that she'll be found soon.
Yes, absolutely. So we did this last week, but just to kick it off, if you've been following this case from day one or for a while, anyway, will you put a 1 in the chat for us? It's always interesting to see how we connect with folks and who knows how much, because we have some interesting information to share tonight. I think it's going to be a shocker. I don't know what you think, Carrie, but I think tonight will be a shocker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is a document filed the other day that came out that the state filed. We will get to that, I promise. We'll do the two more boring ones first.
So, and to be fair, we had an incredible support system that contacted us. Carrie's great about the legal documents. She's awesome at it. She stays on top of it. She can decipher them. When she thinks she wants help and she really doesn't, she contacts me. I'm like, she's so pretty. She thinks I'm helping. That's cute. And also, I say the exact same thing she was thinking. So I'm really no help. But we actually had somebody that was directly impacted that contacted us to say, hey, are you guys aware of this? Because it was a lot to take in. So to that individual, thank you for sharing that information with us. Carrie checks those things every bloody day. And the timing was super important. So thank you very, very much for that. But yeah, we'll do the two more boring ones first.
The two more boring.
You said it first, not me. Right. Following your leadership. Which one are you going with first? Because we both know I'm going to have to restart.
Okay, so this is Tiffany's.
Tiffany's. Let me bring up Tiffany's. Cool. I can follow now. Do you want to read? Do you want me to?
I'll let you for a minute.
Oh,
I'm going to turn off my camera for a second. I was like started getting a cold today and I've been miserable all day, but I need to blow my nose and y'all don't want to hear that. To turn my camera off and mute my mic and let Tara start reading Tiffany's filings.
We're going to read something about Tiffany. She wants to blow her nose. That's awesome. Okay, so here we go. So what we have here is we have the state of Oklahoma v. Tiffany Michelle Adams. So this is motion for individual separate preliminary hearing. Okay, so comes now the defendant, Tiffany Adams. So that means Tiffany is the one that is filing the motion. So by and through undersigned defense counsel, the defense requests that the court conduct the preliminary hearing in the case separate from any other case in order to avoid prejudice, confusion, and due process violations. Paul Grice has filed a brief titled Preliminary Hearing. Joinder of co-defendants Cole Twombly has filed a defendant's brief in support of consolidation for preliminary hearing. And Chad Cullum has filed defendant Cullum's motion for severance for a preliminary hearing and memorandum in support. I kind of jumbled that all together. That's probably confusing. My apologies. So those filings provide a springboard to discuss several reasons why joining Mrs. Adams' preliminary hearing with any other case would be improper. So in short, Tiffany is too good to stand trial with the rest, and she's going to describe why that is. Preliminary hearing generally. Under the Oklahoma Constitution, each citizen accused of a felony holds the right to preliminary hearing. The Oklahoma Constitution, Article 2, Paragraph 17, I think is how that's supposed to read. Preliminary hearing is a critical stage of a criminal case. It is a most important part of our system of jurisprudence and should not be treated lightly. And that's according to Baird versus Ramey. And it is always being conducted for the benefit of the accused. The U.S. Supreme Court and the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals, also known as OCCA, recognize the benefits a preliminary hearing may hold for a defendant, including preserving witness testimony, examining witnesses in detail, preparing to cope with trial testimony, exposing weaknesses in the prosecution's case, and fashioning vital impeachment tools. Moreover, under Oklahoma law, a defendant has the right to produce and examine her own witnesses at preliminary hearing. Moving on to the next section, trial, joinder, and prejudice. Before addressing joinder of the preliminary hearings, it's useful to briefly discuss joinder in context of trial. Unless all joint defendants could be charged in the same charging information, trial joinder is improper. And even if all defendants could be charged in the same document, they cannot be joined for trial if there exists even the appearance that a defendant or the state will be prejudiced by the joinder. Prejudicial joinder may take many forms. In Zafiro v. United States, the U.S. Supreme Court wrote that trial should be severed when there is a serious risk that a joint trial would compromise a specific trial right of one of the defendants or prevent the jury from making a reliable judgment about guilt or innocence. The Supreme Court gave examples of situations that may present this risk. Such a risk might occur when evidence that the jury should not consider against a defendant and that would not be admissible if a defendant were tried alone is admitted against a co-defendant. For example, evidence of a co-defendant's wrongdoing in some circumstances erroneously could lead a jury to conclude that a defendant was guilty. When many defendants are tried together in a complex case and they have markedly different degrees of culpability, the risk of prejudice is heightened. Evidence that is probative of a defendant's guilt, but technically admissible only against a co-defendant, might present a risk of prejudice. Conversely, a defendant might suffer prejudice if essential exculpatory evidence that would be available to a defendant tried alone were unavailable in a joint trial. So the Supreme Court made clear that this list is not a closed set, writing that district courts may find prejudice in situations not discussed here. The OCCA has put it this way: any set of circumstances which is sufficient to deprive a defendant of a fair trial if tried jointly with another is sufficient to require a separate trial. We've got some case laws stated there, and it goes on to say a commonly recognized example of an unfair circumstance is when defendants present mutually antagonistic defenses. When defendants of co-defendants are mutually antagonistic, pitting the defendants against one another, the trial court abuses its discretion in denying severance. When defenses of co-defendants are antagonistic to the degree of being mutually exclusive or irreconcilable, severance is warranted to ensure that each will receive a fair trial. Defenses are antagonistic where each defendant is trying to exculpate himself and inculpate his co-defendant. You've got some case trials listed there, and then it says, at this point, it's possible to say there is not any set of circumstances that will prevent this case from being tried jointly with any related case. Defense counsel received the first batch of discovery from the prosecution on August 21, 2024. That discovery comprises approximately 4 terabytes of information, and it will take a significant amount of time to examine that information to properly investigate the circumstances of the case and potential defenses, and to determine whether those defenses will give rise to mutual antagonism among defendants. It is also impossible to say which charges will persist or be added after preliminary hearing. If a charge is added against any defendant and not all defendants, or if a demurrer is sustained on a charge against one defendant and not all the others, then the charges will not match and thus trial joinder would be improper. The next section is entitled Joinder of Preliminary Hearings. The question then becomes, do the problems that can inflict a joint trial apply at preliminary hearing? In many situations, yes. Mr. Cullum's motion argues the court will be inundated with evidence involving the co-defendants that does not at all relate to defendant Cullum, and the trial would place the defendants in an antagonistic position towards each other and to friendly witnesses on each other's behalf.
I wondered about that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a feeling.
Yep. It's infuriating. So we've read all the documents Carrie and I have, and this is very infuriating to me. But an antagonist is the perfect flippin' word, but we'll get back to that. Ms. Adams echoes these concerns. The court may be responsible for mentally tracking and juggling several days or weeks worth of evidence in these cases. Much of the evidence may be unrelated to Ms. Adams or inadmissible against her. Much of it may be interlaced with hearsay and confrontation concerns relating to different defendants, or combinations of defendants. Even though, as Mr. Twombly's brief points out, courts are presumed to be able to consider only competent and admissible evidence. Judges are human. For any judge, no matter how mentally acute or diligent, The task of keeping evidence in these 5 cases sorted out through a joint preliminary hearing is daunting, to say the least. As to the antagonism, Mr. Cullum points out, the OCCA has found error in joining trials when defenses are mutually antagonistic. For example, in Murray v. State, the OCCA held that denial of severance resulted in pitting defendant against co-defendant. To try both together was, in effect, to try each on the confession of the other. The OCCA went on to quote the Illinois Supreme Court regarding the dangers of joinder. The trial was in many respects more of a contest between defendants than between the people and the defendants. It produced a spectacle where the people frequently stood by and witnessed a combat in which the defendants attempted to destroy each other. The same situation may arise in a joint preliminary hearing. Procedural questions abound. At this point, it is impossible to know whether any of the 5 related cases will be joined for trial. And the law does not give a clear answer about whether cases that may not be joined for trial still may be joined for preliminary hearing, or the remedy, if any, for cases that may not be joined for trial but were already joined for preliminary hearing. In a joint preliminary hearing, if any defendant calls her own witness, is that witness subject to the cross-examination by other defendants? This would not be a factor in an individual separate preliminary hearing. During defense witnesses' testimony, our other defendants object. This would not be a factor either. During one defendant's cross-examination of a prosecution witness, can other defendants object? This would not be a factor either. In the event that the transcript of a joint hearing must be used later, and different evidence was held to be admissible against different defendants, which part of the transcript can be used as to each defendant? A joint hearing may create a procedural quagmire. The law is clear that when mutual antagonism becomes apparent after a trial has begun, the court should declare a mistrial. The same law should apply to the preliminary hearing. Title 22, Section 438, Mr. Grice's brief concludes that the Oklahoma statutes authorize joinder of preliminary hearings. Mr. Grice quotes Title 22, Section 438, emphasizing the phrase, "The procedure shall be the same as if the prosecution was under such single indictment or information." He then extrapolates that the term procedure includes preliminary hearing. For multiple reasons, this is a mistake. Mr. Grice relies on a strained reading of the statute. The title of Section 438 is trial of 2 or more indictments or informations. It refers to situations where a court may order a joint trial. The term procedure, as used there, plainly refers to a procedure at trial, not to all proceedings that may occur before trial or at the trial court level. The statute simply doesn't refer to our situation. But even if Section 438 did refer to our situation, it doesn't follow that whenever defendants may be charged in the same information, preliminary hearings may be joined. If that were the case, then prejudice, confusion, and due process violations at preliminary hearing might fly under the radar, regardless of the number of defendants, complexity of the case, mutually antagonistic defenses, practical considerations such as courtroom setup, or any of the other concerns. The decision of whether to join cases for preliminary hearings should not depend on whether defendants may be jointly charged, but whether they may be jointly tried, the requirements for which are discussed above, because preliminary hearing and trial present several similar concerns. Lack of mechanics. Mr. Grice's brief asserts that the statutes do not provide any mechanism or right to object to joinder of any proceedings prior to the setting of the jury trial itself. The brief goes on to discuss the other authority Mr. Grice has not found. The conspicuous flip side to Mr. Grice's argument is that there exists, to wit, no mechanism or specific authority that allows joinder of a proceeding prior to trial. There is certainly no authority that requires it. In fact, the statutes appear to contemplate joinder of defendants only in a charging information or trial. Judicial economy does not outweigh Ms. Adams' rights. Mr. Grice's brief cites Cooks v. State to support an argument for judicial economy, But as important as judicial economy is, it does not outweigh a defendant's right to a fair trial and due process of law. Romano v. State. Undersigned counsel is not aware of a case where holding a separate individual hearing, trial, preliminary hearing, or otherwise was held to be an error. But the OCCA has found reversible error several times based on improper joinder and related issues. A point of clarification. Mr. Twombly writes in his motion that defendants all agreed to consolidate the cases for the purpose of preliminary matters, for the purpose of judicial efficiency, and in accordance with the due process rights of the defendants. Ms. Adams' counsel agreed to appear in some status conferences with other defendants and has appeared at the court's direction. At no time has the defense for Ms. Adams agreed to consolidate her case with any other case for preliminary hearing, nor do we agree that a joint preliminary hearing safeguards Ms. Adams' rights. Granted, separate hearings may take more time, at least in the short term, but avoiding error saves time in the long run. And regardless, a fair hearing for each defendant is worth the time. We secure greater speed, economy, and convenience in the administration of the law at the price of fundamental principles and constitutional liberty. That price is too high. The wheels of justice have always been keyed to a slow, steady pace in our system of democracy, while speed in executing the law has been more frequently associated with anarchy and despotism. When a man is on trial for his liberty or life, there should not be undue haste. Judicial economy is an important goal furthered by joint trial of co-defendants, but as important as it is, it does not outweigh a defendant's right to a fair trial and due process of law. So in conclusion, Ms. Adams requests her own preliminary hearing. Even if the related cases may be joined for preliminary hearing, a joint hearing is likely to become an evidentiary labyrinth, and defendants may present mutually antagonistic defenses. Because this is a potential capital case and thus requires heightened degree of reliability, the prudent route is to conduct Ms. Adams' preliminary hearing separately from any other case. The defense so requests, based on Ms. Adams' rights to due process, the effective assistance of counsel, and ultimately a fair trial and the freedom from cruel and unusual punishment under the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution and corresponding provisions of the Oklahoma Constitution. That is Tiffany Adams' motion to say you cannot do a preliminary hearing with me and them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's some good points in there.
So I was thinking the same thing as I was reading it. And also, you and I have read all 3 documents. I see why the state filed the way they did.
Yes.
I understand. And I'm glad and when we get there, we'll have a little bit more explanation there, but I see why they did what they did. I see why they had to state it the way they stated it. Because at this point in time, they had to make it clear all 5 need to go down equally. So that was part of our conversation last week, and I'll stand by that this week.
So the next one is Cora's, and that was the final one that we did not have yet. So it was filed on the last day that they were supposed to be filed, which was the 9th.
Right.
And this is Cora's motion for separate preliminary hearings and brief in support. Comes now the defendant Cora Twombly by and through her attorneys of record, Suzanne Hearn and Tessa Martin of the Oklahoma Indigent Defense System, and in response to the court's request for briefs from counsel in Texas County cases regarding whether the preliminary hearings in these 5 cases should be consolidated. Defendant Cora Twombly requests the preliminary hearings for each case be separate. Relevant procedural background, the 5 defendants in the above listed cases were charged with the same counts in each respective information. However, they were charged in 5 separate cases, the first 4 on April 12th and the last being Paul Grice on April 24th. These cases have been set by the court for status hearings at the same dates and times. However, as of the date of this filing, the state of Oklahoma has filed no motion to join cases for trial, and the court has not yet considered the question of consolidation. Argument and authority. While Oklahoma statutes do allow for joinder of trials in certain situations, it also provides relief where joinder would be prejudicial to the state or a defendant. Title 22, paragraph 439 states, if it appears that a defendant or the state is prejudiced by joinder of offenses or of defendants in an indictment or information, or by such joinder for trial together, the court shall order an election or separate trial of counts, grant a severance of defendants, or provide whatever other relief justice requires. Since the Oklahoma statutes neither mandate joinder nor separation, the question is whether or not there will be prejudice to the state or the accused. While the statutes are silent regarding whether this joinder applies at the preliminary hearing stage, Ms. Twombly argues the question is still one of prejudice or potential prejudice. Preliminary hearings are for the benefit of the accused. The Oklahoma Constitution, as well as the Court of Criminal Appeals, has made clear that the preliminary hearing is always being conducted for the benefit of the accused. The preliminary hearing is not a one-sided affair, with all benefits running to the state. A defendant has an aim at a preliminary hearing, which has been clearly endorsed not only by the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals, but also by the U.S. Supreme Court. The defendant could aim to have the charges dismissed or to flesh out and preserve the testimony of witnesses and cross-examine the state's witnesses in the event the state attempts to introduce their preliminary hearing testimony at trial in place of live testimony. At preliminary hearing, the defendant can also attempt to discover the nature of the state's case. Potential for prejudice when 5 cases are joined into one hearing. In Coleman, the Supreme Court held a defense lawyer's skilled examination and cross-examination of witnesses may expose fatal weaknesses in the state's case that may lead the magistrate to refuse to bind the accused over. Second, in any event, the skilled interrogation of witnesses by an experienced lawyer can fashion a vital impeachment tool for use in cross-examination of the state witnesses at trial or preserve testimony favorable to the accused of a witness who does not appear at the trial. Third, trained counsel can more effectively discover the case the state has against his client and make possible the preparation of a proper defense to meet that case at the trial. Each of the 5 cases will be represented by teams of attorneys attempting to effectively preserve every viable benefit from the preliminary hearings. A number of evidentiary issues can come to light and be litigated during preliminary hearing, including the strict prohibition against the use of statements and confessions of a non-testifying co-defendant. At preliminary hearing, the magistrate has the duty to rule on motions to suppress, sufficiency of evidence, and demurs. The discovery provided so far in each of these cases is extensive. At preliminary hearing, there will potentially be numerous witnesses examined and cross-examined, with a large amount of evidence presented for the court's consideration. If these 5 cases were to be joined for preliminary hearing, the court would have the arduous task of separating which items of evidence are admissible against which defendant. Therein lies the risk of prejudice when not just 2, but 5 cases, each with a vast amount of evidence, are up for dissection and detailed judgments by the magistrate. Separation of hearings would result in clarity and simplification as to which evidence and arguments apply to which case. Wherefore, premises considered, Ms. Twombly requests this court grant her a separate preliminary hearing based on her rights for due process and effective assistance of counsel and for any other relief she is due. So Cora, Tad, and Tiffany have all asked for theirs to be separate.
Yep. But the state has a response.
And the state does have a response. And this, I'm just going to say it was very difficult when I first read this. I actually sent it to a family member as well, so that they would have a heads up on it. They had not seen the document. I did not want them hearing it first from us on this live. So I gave them, all day to be able to look over it. And hopefully they all did. But it was a rough read. It is a rough read.
So do you want me to read it or do you want to read it, Carrie?
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
So before I initiate this, there is what can be considered to be graphic information.
Mhm.
If you've not seen this yet, this was filed a couple of days ago, and I was told about it by somebody that's closely impacted. And so if you are squeamish in any way, please take caution as we go forward with this one. So what we have here is the state's brief in support of consolidation for preliminary hearing. So we've read out 4 of the 5 want to separate their preliminary hearings. Paul Grice wants to join them all. The state is saying we want to join them. So comes now the state of Oklahoma by and through the district attorney, George H. Leach III, and in support of its brief in support of consolidation for preliminary hearing, alleges and states as follows. Facts. Tad Cullum, also known as Cullum, Tiffany Adams, Cole Twombly Cole, Cora Twombly Cora, and Paul Grice, all entered into an agreement, conspiracy, and planned the murders of Veronica Butler, and Jilian Kelley. Pursuant to the plan, and in the furtherance of the conspiracy, they each did their respective part, which culminated in the deaths of Butler and Kelley. Cole and Cora, in part, were the lookouts on the day of the murders, and, in furtherance of the conspiracy, confided in their daughter in hope of receiving an alibi for the morning of the murders. Grice, in part, stabbed and killed Butler, sliced his hand badly with a knife, and accompanied the bodies of Butler and Kelley to the burial site. He threw his clothing, stun device, and the knife used to kill Butler in the burial site. His clothing was found in the burial site contained. His clothing found in the burial site contained his and Butler's DNA. Cullum, in part, got permission from the landowners to dig the hole for the burial site, and dug the hole with his skid steer the day before the murders. He stabbed and killed Kelley and drove the bodies of Butler and Kelley to the burial site. He put his clothing in the burial site and buried Butler and Kelley inside a freezer in the previously dug hole. His clothing found at the burial site contained his and Kelley's DNA. The accessories to the knife found at the burial site were found in his home. Adams, in part, purchased the burner phones from Walmart, which were used by the conspirators to communicate. She purchased the stun devices at Standard Supply. One of the stun devices were found in the burial site. She purchased the yellow straps that were placed around the freezer containing the bodies of Butler and Kelley at Tractor Supply. She purchased the pants that Cullum put in the burial site. Adams hated and despised Butler and wanted her dead. Pursuant to the plan and conspiracy, each defendant did their part to aid and abet in the murders of Butler and Kelley. Argument in support of joinder for preliminary hearing. Where defendants participate in the same criminal act, there is no authority in Oklahoma authorizing or mandating a separate preliminary hearing for each defendant. For trial, the court has the authority pursuant to 22 OS 439 to order separate trials, but in these matters, we are seeking joinder for preliminary hearing. In a preliminary hearing, the judge is the decision maker. As the trier of fact, it is presumed that the judge will only consider competent and admissible evidence in reaching his decision, which is per Long v. State, Fox v. State, and in Fox v. State, the court held in part as follows. Further, we hold in the instant case that the trial judge, since he has the skills with which to rule on the admissibility of the evidence and base his decision solely on that evidence, he determines to be competent, relevant, and material. The court has been practicing law for 47 years, many of which have been spent on the bench. With that experience, there is no question this court is able to signal preliminary hearing to a single. Let me try that again. With that experience, there is no question this court is able, in a single preliminary hearing, to determine what evidence is admissible against each defendant and separate the evidence that is not admissible in making probable cause determinations therein. That the following authority relates in joint trials, it would appear to be even more compelling when applied to joinder at preliminary hearing. The stated policy of the Court of Criminal Appeals regarding joint trials is as follows. This court has recognized in the past that it is in the interest of both justice and economy to jointly charge and try those alleged to have participated in the same criminal act, and has urged trial courts to do so whenever possible. let me see. In 2023, the United States Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, elaborated on the reasons why joint trials are preferable. Joint trials have long played a vital role in the criminal justice system, preserving government resources and allowing victims to avoid repeatedly reliving trauma. Further, joint trials encourage consistent verdicts and enable more accurate assessments of relative culpability. Also, separate trials randomly favor the last tried defendant who have the advantage of knowing the prosecution's case beforehand. The Richardson case, cited in the above quote, explained more regarding the practicalities of joining co-defendants. It would impair both the efficiency and the fairness of the criminal justice system to require, in all these cases of joint crimes where incriminating statements exist, that prosecutors bring separate proceedings presenting the same evidence again and again, requiring victims and witnesses to repeat the inconvenience and sometimes trauma of testifying and randomly favoring the last tried defendants who have the advantage of knowing the prosecution's case beforehand. Joint trials generally serve the interest of justice by avoiding inconsistent verdicts and enabling more accurate assessment of relative culpability, advantages which sometimes operate to the defendant's benefit. Even apart from these tactical considerations, joint trials generally serve the interest of justice by avoiding the scandal and inequity of inconsistent verdicts. It is also worth saying that separate trials are apt to have varying consequences for legally indistinguishable defendants. The unfairness of this is confirmed by the common prosecutorial experience of seeing co-defendants who are tried separately strenuously jockeying for position with regard to who should be the first to be tried. In particular, the preference in a conspiracy trial is that persons charged together should be tried together. Severance is discretionary and should be granted only when there is a serious risk that a joint trial would compromise a specific trial right of one of the defendants or prevent the jury from making a reliable judgment about guilt or innocence. Exemplifying the point raised by the United States Supreme Court above, if the court herein were to order 5 separate preliminary hearings and 5 separate trials, the 16-year-old daughter of Cora would be required to travel to Oklahoma and testify 10 different times herein. Such a result is unconscionable. The state will put on no evidence at preliminary hearing that will be favorable towards any particular defendant. The defendants have no antagonistic positions towards each other. They are all in it together, unable to implicate another without implicating oneself. The defendants either entered into a planned conspiracy to murder 2 women that culminated in the murders of 2 women, or they did not. The state will present independent and separate evidence, as set forth in the facts above, that will support and require the court to find that there is probable cause to believe that each defendant committed the crimes contained in his or her respective information. Lastly, the defendants would suffer no prejudice in joinder because the court is able in a single preliminary hearing to determine what evidence is admissible against each defendant and separate the evidence that is not admissible in making probable cause determinations therein. Wherefore, the state respectfully requests that the court continue to consolidate and join these matters for the purpose of a preliminary hearing. And that is what we have. So there's, I'll put it out there, the overarching, long-lasting question of how has been presented. We know the how. That does not mean we go to Facebook on the group and make a big to-do of it because we have family members listening tonight. We have family members in that group. They knew that information early on. Our team knew it early on. We have maintained that information on purpose to protect this case. So before going into heated discussions or detailed discussions, wait.
Yes.
There's more details to come. This is not, the state had to give the court something to make them realize why these cases have to be tried together. It's a domino effect. Without Cole and Cora acting as lookouts, Paul Paul and Tad could not perform their duties, and Tiffany could not construct the whole matter.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what the judge is going to say. That should be resolved here in 7 days. The 18th is the next court hearing. Tara and I will be there. We will be inside the courthouse, so we will take notes, and we will have somebody outside the courthouse to video for us so that we can bring you guys that footage that's ours, rather than the news. But we absolutely will be inside the court to attend this next team, or this next hearing. I almost said team something because I saw evil teamwork.
It's hard. Those comments will get you.
Yes, but I am very curious because there's 3 of them that do not want to consolidate, and 2 that do.
4 have filed. 4 of the
Yes.
5 have filed to separate. Paul wants
That's
them
right.
consolidated. So there was a chat. There was a message earlier that said that Paul was an idiot for not flipping. I think he did. But I think he's not going to take a plea deal. I think he will be tried. I think I know that Paul was helping authorities early on, which is why he'd been questioned once, let's go, questioned again, and then he turned himself in.
I feel the same.
I do think his moral fibers have kicked in, and he is helping the state. That's why he wants them consolidated. I think in his mind, we did this together, we go down together. And I do think he wants to be able to testify against his co-defendants to say, this is what we planned. This is what we agreed to. This is what we decided we would do. And then we went and did it. So, Margaret, the lookouts were Cole and Cora Twombly. According to the state's motion, Cole and Cora were the lookouts for the entire ordeal.
And man, can imagine, the minor having to testify 10 different times. It's
I don't want to see.
unimaginable.
I do not want to see that happen.
And I hope the judge takes that into high consideration.
So, coming from this from a parental perspective, Carrie, and I think you can agree with me, and I'd be interested in the chat's impression upon this. But how crappy of a set of parents, to say you have to testify multiple times because me getting off is more important than your mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
hard to fathom that. Yeah, like, you know what? Do the right thing for once. Do the right thing and, spare your child from having to go through all that. I don't understand it. I never will understand it. But that's where it's at. So,
yeah, the whole situation is hard to wrap your head around. Nothing would please me more after reading the state's motion, and I kind of would be Old West about it and do a whole lynch mob thing, but that's not appropriate. I get it. That's not even nice to say, but
I'd be right behind you.
It's like
next to you.
Like
most of the chat. Yeah.
But you have to have a fair trial. And to me, a fair trial is you did this together. You signed up together. You go down together, in my opinion. You don't get to divorce one another at this point in time. You married up, and you guys are betrothed. So happy. Just own it.
Yes.
Just own it. But
and I don't know how the judge decides something like this. There's 4 out of 5 that don't want them to be joined. I can see points on both sides. I mean, I really can.
I could until I read the state. Like I could get it until I read the state's motion, even though last week I was still very much like, yeah, you guys did this together. And their state's motion, it's like they made an excellent point. Without Cole and Cora, they couldn't have completed it. But without Tiffany being the mastermind, they couldn't have planned it. Without Tad and Paul doing their parts, they couldn't have done it. That's what, to me, every one of them had the power to stop it, or at least save one of them at the very minimum, if not stop the whole thing. Or in Paul's case, maybe if this is what happened, connect with the authorities and say, perhaps I may have screwed up. Perhaps I have information you're going to be interested in. I don't know what that conversation was like. It's a lot of speculation at that point. But to me, it's like you guys can all just go down together. To me, it's that simple because you guys decided there was opportunities to make a different decision along the way, and you didn't.
I agree. I've not ever seen a trial where they combined all the defendants. I think the biggest trial I have watched was the one out of Ohio, and I can't remember the names. I'm sorry, but it was a whole family that basically murdered a whole family. It's in our Discord, I think. Anyway, I can't remember the actual the names of them. Somebody in chat might,
Right.
but they were all tried separately. So I've never seen one where they were tried together. And of course, this is just for the preliminary hearing.
Yes.
It's not for the trial. It's just a preliminary hearing. But still, I think that will kind of set the tone for what will come later on. Definitely. For those that became new members, we do have a Discord as well. It's probably much different than the one you have been in previously. There's no drama. There's no personal stuff. It's mostly case discussion. But once you become a member, then it automatically kind of puts you in there. So
Yep.
no, it wasn't in the 90s. Now I got to look it up. Keep talking, Tara. You'll drive me nuts.
So in the Discord, again, it's no drama. There's no personal information. We keep that to the facts only. We share facts, and that's about it. To the members tonight, thank you. We know who you are. You guys are awesome. Welcome back, and share the channel. As far as the documents that were read tonight in the chat, his Sunflower Sue, I have a feeling I know who you are. As far as what you've heard tonight, what are your thoughts about a joint, even a preliminary hearing or a separate preliminary hearing? What makes more sense? Having that high level overview of the day in question. I'd like to keep that as tame as possible. Again, I know that family members are probably listening, but I'm going to, let me grab my mouse. And Blonde Gnome, that is a cute name, by the way.
It was the Pike County Massacre.
Pike County Massacre is what she's
Pike
talking
County, yes. And so 4 family members from one family murdered 8 family members from another family, but these families were all tied together. So, there was like in-laws and things like that. And it's almost very similar, actually.
Oh, wow.
The mother of the adult kids and the husband, the mother is the one that this was all her idea
Orchestrated.
too.
Mhm.
And it was also about custody. So crazy, but they were tried separately.
Okay. So Blonde Gnome, my thing, where'd you go, Blonde Gnome? There you are. Blonde Gnome says, it's insane to me how 5 adults and all believe this was the best way to deal with hatred. So Blonde Gnome, I don't know how long you've been following the case. As we kind of delve in more and develop information and understanding, the hatred was driven by very personal desires. It sounds like there is I've been learning a lot the last few days, and it's so convoluted, it's so spiderwebby. So it wouldn't have mattered which way somebody would go. You're getting caught in the web no matter what. That's the best way I can describe it. I wish it turned differently. I really do. It's crappy how it went down. Could state still come with one is indictments 2, 4, 5 tried GJ indictments, grand jury indictments.
Yeah.
2, 4, 5 tried together. Only case I remember, NYC Mafia RICO trials. I'm sure there is. I don't know what that specific case law would be to support that necessarily. But what the state is saying is that if Cora and Cole hadn't done their part, Paul and Tad couldn't have done their part. If Tiffany hadn't done her part, Cora and Cole wouldn't have been necessary. So what the state has done is they have woven all 5 together as a whole. It was an all or nothing thing. Either all 5 of those people contributed or nothing could have happened. That's what the state is trying to pursue. And smartly, I might add, that was the way to do it. So that's where the state's coming from. Margaret, I was surprised to hear TA did not do the deed. I can go both ways on that one. It always seems like Tiffany has somebody doing her work for her.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like she doesn't ever have to actually do it. I know she's been ugly to people at the personality level. God, Karen, I can tell you stories upon stories that we have received about the personality and interactions from Tiffany with others. So What about the other teen that was helping Cora's daughter? There's not been much mention of her since the original warrants, I don't believe.
No,
I don't think
there
I've heard
hasn't
anything more, so I don't know where that's going to go. We may see that when the trial gets going, I would think.
Yes.
I thought I saw another one in there, but I don't know. Let me go back and look.
And I'll upload these documents to the Facebook group. I had been doing it prior, but it seems like maybe somebody was grabbing our documents that we actually pay for. So now we're waiting until after we can present them. And then if you want to take them, be that way, whatever. But I'll upload those this evening. So if you're in the Facebook group, I just dropped the link. If you're not, go join it. And all of these documents are in there under files.
Blonde Gnome, tell me what you mean by blackmail. I'm confused by that one. And then Rachel St. Louis says, I'm very impressed as to how respectful your life has been. You both have done a fantastic job with the discussion on this case. Thank you, Rachel. That's
Yes, thank you.
I was talking with somebody today about the opportunities we had to, I'll call it return favor. Carrie and I have been slandered. We've been name called. We have been accused of some very interesting things. I wish I was better at them, but I'm not. But okay, might my life easier. I don't know, but we've had opportunities, and early on, Carrie and I made a decision. That was a very easy decision to make. That this channel, the group, the Facebook group would all be about the case itself, not anybody else.
Yeah.
And so we were very, very keen on that. And we want to make sure that no matter how much the low blows hurt, we stay true to our values and our beliefs. And I feel we've maintained our integrity. Shenanigans, however, is a completely different channel. We're going to talk about some crap over there.
Yes, we are. We're going to have fun over there. That's where you grab your glass of wine and come hang out and just, shoot the crap. That'll be fun.
It will be.
Tara's kind of been going through a lot for the last, week or so. But we'll get those going here real soon. And when we do, we'll definitely post them in the Facebook group just because Tara is half of the Facebook group. So
Tara's family. That's what the word you're looking for is family.
Yep.
Why is she stuttering on that?
But yeah, that'll be fun to go over there. You guys will be very thankful to know Sarah's not a side piece. Sarah's not a side piece.
You need to get your girl straight, apparently.
I got a kick out of that one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the family, we have always considered the entire family to be victims. Even friends are victims too, because so many just didn't think that their friends would do something like this. So very difficult situation for a lot of people and the children, as well. So we just try to always keep them as the victims in the back of our heads when we discuss anything to do with any case, really.
Agreed. And yes, Tammy, you can go back and watch the whole thing over. Please do.
Yes.
We don't mind that a bit. Was TA able to blackmail others to have them involved in? So I don't believe blackmail was the motivator in, we'll call it recruiting her little team of 5. I believe that she was maybe telling some stories that weren't exactly on point. We'll put it like that. And the reason we have to put it that way, Blonde Gnome, is there are some other minors that are involved in the story that because we hold true and near and dear that minors are off limits on this channel and in the Facebook group. And so
they're going to see all this one day. They're going to see every bit of this.
And it was made clear to me that while documents such as what we read tonight may seem clear, cut, and dry, they are not. There's a lot more behind the strategy that we don't always get to see. And so I would strongly advise that any document you see online, you take it at face value, understanding there's a deeper story behind it.
Yes.
As when it comes to legal practices, strategies are super important. And sometimes you just have to be, despite what you read in black and white, you need to be more open-minded than what seems necessary.
Yes. And yes, it was the Roden family in Ohio. I watched that entire trial. It was fascinating, but just as crazy as this case. And I'm so proud of you.
Oh
You're
my
classy,
gosh.
articulate, educated. That's right.
And we're not
Thank you very
high.
much.
And you're not
And
high.
Margaret's like, I don't do Facebook, I don't do Discord, and I'm barely going to do YouTube.
That's
Too
awesome.
funny. Well, you guys are always welcome. Like I said, if you're a member, you're welcome. Join our Discord. Tara and I don't even chat with each other in there. It's just, I'd like to have it built up for case discussion.
Yeah.
But we don't want any drama. We don't want all that stuff in there. So that's just not going to happen. And if you're not a member of the Facebook group yet, then definitely go and join. I'm sure most of you already are. So that's all I have, Tara. Again, please look at Jania's picture. It says 4'3" because that's what the police department was given. She's closer 5 foot-ish. Black pajamas, black hooded sweatshirt, black and red shoes, allegedly. Her date of birth is actually April 28th of 2011, not 2001. So she's 13 years old. She is disappeared from Gary, Indiana. The mother reported her as a runaway on August 11th, but there is reason to believe that she possibly has been missing since June of this year. And she is also possibly, allegedly, 4 to 5 months pregnant and therefore in need of medical attention. So please share Jania's picture everywhere.
Yes.
And we're going to keep trying to drum up as much as we can for awareness regarding Jania.
Absolutely.
With that said, that's all I have. You guys were wonderful as always. Thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us tonight. We really appreciate every one of you being here. And we'll probably have another live here soon-ish regarding Jania for sure. And
Yeah.
then otherwise, we've been doing our lives every Tuesday or Wednesday night. We didn't do it last night because there was the debate and there was some YouTube drama in the true crime community. So we just kind of put it off, but we've been doing them on Tuesday evenings. So Tuesday, Wednesday nights. And then Tara, her channel. Do you have your channel link? Hold on. I've got Tara's channel link.
Grab it.
The link for
So-
Tara's channel is in the description of this video, but I do have it right here so I can put it in there.
Where's my internet?
And if
There's
you
my
guys
internet.
have not subbed up to hers, please do, because we'll have a lot of fun over there, I think. But we're also going to talk about, life, I think. Right, Tara?
Yeah, they if I can freaking know how to do a copy and paste. Good Lord.
I
that's
already
not
did
like-
it.
Okay, perfect.
You're
You do
behind.
it. So yeah, know it. So that channel is designed to have difficult conversations, talking about different types of relationships, different types of experiences. Could be about toxicity. It could be about manipulation. It could be about just some of the antics that we see that take place on social media platforms, even. But it's where we can have those open conversations where we can focus on that. Here on this channel, we want to focus on the victims and their families and protecting them and helping them. And on the other channel, we want to focus on our own mental health when we're doing this kind of thing and the difficulties that align with that. And so if you go to that channel, it's not officially been put out there. We're like in a soft launch. We're playing around, trying to figure things out. And so you'll see some kind of motivational stuff, some funny stuff. It's me and any number of girlfriends. There's 5 regulars that'll come on rotating. Carrie is going to be a regular that comes on there as well. And then we'll have an open panel. No presentations, just open conversation. That's hard to have anywhere else. So we will see where it takes us.
Real quick, Tammy just had a question. I definitely want to respect the family and friends, but where can you ask a question?
One thing I want to be able to attend the trial. Let me put the burner number. The courtroom is open, but is there a room? Is going to be the ticker. And so I would ask for those of you that intend on attending that you allow family in there first that are there. if you have questions about the trial, you have information, you have things you want to get off your chest that maybe you don't know where, maybe the police aren't interested, but you think may be helpful in us to developing the understanding here, that number is available. It's a burner number. You can anonymously reach out that way, is how I'll say it. So we did have a few reach out last time, so it does work. I do know that
It
much.
does.
So
Yep.
it
And
does.
we actually do keep it confidential. We truly do. We proved that throughout this entire last 5-6 months of this case.
Yeah.
We've proved that over and over. So, and
Yeah.
yes, prayers for missing Janiyah. I appreciate you guys. I know that many of you were here only for Veronica and Jillian's case, but I do appreciate you guys sticking through the entire live and listening to Janiyah's case as well, because it's important. And I really appreciate it. That
So
said,
do
you
I.
guys have a wonderful evening. I got to go blow my nose. I got a steak waiting for me. But we're just so happy you guys are here. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Tara, I love you, and I will
I
talk to
love
you
you
in a bit
too.
probably.
Thank
All
you for
right.
letting me be here. Bye.
You're always welcome. Bye, guys. Have a great evening.